to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Thanks for joining us today. Get ready to be inspired and motivated to live a high-impact life. Now, here's Rick.
Welcome to the Point of Impact podcast. I'm Rick McDaniel. Great to have you joining us again today as we're rolling along here already in this beginning of 2026. Very excited about this year and great content for you. Looking forward to sharing it all with you. Love what we've been able to put out already, and I'm super excited about today, why you should do hard things in 2026. This is something that's become a motto for me this year, and I want to see if I can do my best to convince you to adopt it as well, to do the hard stuff and see this year have breakthroughs like you've never seen before, and experiences like you've never seen before, and growth like you've never seen before. So we're going to get into that in just a moment, and we've got a great year or let's say a great season. We'll talk about, while we're in this season, that we always take the summer break. So we've got a great rest of this season for you and a great 2026 planned. It's also exciting as we work our way toward 250 episodes, which will be coming, I believe, maybe in March. We'll hit that, and that will be an exciting milestone as well. 250 episodes. How many podcasts have gotten to that point? So excited about doing that, but most importantly, we're focused on right now, today, and really giving you something to consider. I'm known for my inspirational messages and writings, but I am also known for my challenges that I throw out in my speaking and preaching, and in my leadership. I like to challenge people and call people out and call people up to greater and to reaching their full potential. And so it's an interesting mix, I suppose, that a lot of people that are inspirational don't do the challenge, and a lot of people that are challenged don't do the inspirational. So I like to try to do both, and I think I've been able to do that. I do that when I'm coaching people as well. That is something that I inspire them, but then I'll challenge them about things, and it's important to be challenged, and it's important to challenge yourself. And today, really, this is my shot at all of you, trying to get you to consider doing hard stuff. Before we jump in, just a couple quick things. We're still at the beginning of the year. Many people are thinking I should be having a regular devotional time with God, which you should, absolutely. And it's one of your New Year's commitments or New Year's resolutions or goals, whatever you want to call it. I've written 2 devotionals. They're fantastic with inspiration and challenge, exactly what I was just talking about, in written form. One's called This Is Living. The other's called Greater. Both of them you can purchase at rickmcdaniel.com. You can get them on Amazon or wherever you get your books. I would highly encourage you to get one of them. They're 100 devotions each, so won't last you the whole year, but the 2 of them together, as I said last week, the way people end up missing some days and weekends and Sundays and all that stuff before you know it, it can take you 4 or 5 months to get through 100. And so with a couple of them, you got a good chunk of the year knocked out. So I would encourage you to get This Is Living or Greater and start using it. Don't just get it. Start using it. 2 pages a day. I mean, come on. It's not... You can do it. You can sit down for 5 minutes and read and have a prayer, and that's bare minimum. Like, I'd love for you to see to move from 5 minutes to 15 minutes, to half an hour, to something really significant. But you got to start somewhere, and this is a perfect place to start. So I would really encourage you. I would also encourage you, go to rickmcdaniel.com. It's a whole brand new site. We redid it at the end of last year. It's got all kinds of content and information and ways to interact with me far beyond just this podcast. And you can sign up to get a weekly devotion. You can be able to find out about me coming to speak for you, or coaching, as I was just saying, or consulting, or whatever the case may be, churches and businesses and athletic teams and nonprofits and all sorts of folks. So rickmcdaniel.com. It's also where you can see all the different places, my YouTube channel and my social media on X and Instagram and Facebook, and follow, because I'm always pumping out content all the time, every single day except Saturday. I'm doing it, so you can get that as well there. So good stuff. All right, why you should do hard things in 2026. So here's basically what happened here for me is I spoke in September, and in the course of that message, I referenced the SEAL 40% rule. And the 40% rule is that when you think you've done as much as you can do, gone as far as you can go, given everything you can give, you're only at about 40% of what you really can do. And that was by no means the message. It was just a small little reference point amongst an entire message. But after that, when I was on my trip at the Panama Canal and transiting through the canal and going up the coast there of Central America, I of course was reflecting and thinking about this new year and this idea of doing the hard things purposely, intentionally, actively pursuing hard stuff. It just began to resonate inside of me. And those sorts of things, when they happen, it's pretty clear to me that is the Holy Spirit speaking to me. That is God's way of nudging me in a particular direction. And I've experienced this hundreds of times in my life, so I'm very familiar with what the old timers might call the still small voice. The Bible would call the Holy Spirit's guidance, that the Holy Spirit, Jesus said, would come to guide us. So I knew that this was something that God was directing me to do, guiding me to do, calling me to do. And I'm not going to say, hey, he's calling you or guiding you to do it as well. What I am saying is I want to present it to you. I want to present it to you so you can think about it. You can pray about it. You can consider it. And you can ask yourself, is this what I need to do? You know, Jesus did hard things. Of course, Jesus did the hardest thing, gave his life, died and not just died, but died a horrible, horrible, brutal, torturous death, being crucified, where every breath he took, he had to rip into his flesh and his hands, wrists, feet. I mean, just awful, terrible, crown of thorns, spear in his side. I mean, the amount of pain, suffering was just enormous. But Jesus did a lot of hard things in his entire life leading up to the crucifixion, including taking on the religious leaders of the day, which was a very, very difficult thing to do, and denying himself and fasting for 40 days and on I could go. I mean, I could do a whole podcast just on that, about Jesus, but I want to talk about more than that, but I just want to lay that foundation out there for you. If you're a follower of Christ and you're like, oh, why do I need to do hard things? Well, we're supposed to follow Jesus, and Jesus said, take up your cross and follow me. So that if you think taking up a cross is easy, Jesus said, die to yourself. That's not easy to do. Jesus said, unless you hate your father and mother and brother and sister, it's not easy to do. Jesus said, if you put your hand to the plow and then look back, you're not fit for my kingdom. Like, it's not easy to put your hand to the plow and go forward. Plowing's not easy. So the hard stuff is there. What I would say is that hard is good, and I would say hard is growth, and I would say hard is gain. To grow, we just have to do hard things. Frankly, everything in life worth doing is hard, and the harder it is, the more rewarding and the more worth doing it is. So it's important to just embrace this idea of doing hard things. And I say, you say, what do you mean by hard things? Well, I'm going to get into the 5 hard things that I'm going to specifically do. But just to give you sort of a general idea, a hard thing could be having the difficult conversation you need to have with your family, maybe with your spouse or with one of your children. You don't want to do it. It's not, these are your family members. You see them all the time. But, there's things that need to be said, things that need to be confronted. Maybe it's doing that tough workout at the gym. Frankly, your workouts have just been easy. I'm in the gym all the time. I mean, the amount of people that really push themselves, very, very rare. Just people that are just sort of pushing weights. Just pushing weights, that's not going to get you where you need to get to. You got to push stuff that's hard and heavy. And if you can't lift heavy stuff, then you got to get to lift heavy stuff. And to do that is hard. It is hard. When I put on plate after plate, I put on four plates on each side. Yeah, I'm saying this is not easy. I could make it so much easier on myself. But the hard stuff, maybe it's the challenging project in your job. Like it's hard. Like you know it's hard. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. Of course, it could really make your year. So you just have to do things that you don't want to do when you don't feel like doing them. Yeah, we need to do hard. Now, here's the good news. Hard opens up opportunities. Oh, yes, it does. Opportunities that you'll never find in any other way. It expands our horizons. You start pushing yourself. You start seeing what you're capable of. And you start thinking, wow, I'm unstoppable. I can do way more than I thought. It develops us. Frankly, some of you are just stuck, and the reason you're stuck is because you don't want to do hard things. And the only way you're going to get unstuck is if you do the hard stuff. And that is what I am calling you to do today, to do the hard stuff. Now, what is it that really makes us resistant to this? And there really are two things. Your brain creates resistance to hard things in two very predictable ways. And recognizing these patterns is the first step to overcoming. So let's just take a moment here and look at these two predictable ways that our brain resists. The first would be emotional pushback. Your brain isn't judging this logically, it's judging this emotionally. And here's the thing, the bigger it is, the harder it is. It's the word we're going to use today. The harder it is, the harder the task looks, the stronger or the bigger the emotional resistance will be in your brain. So for instance, something like, I need to reorganize my entire closet, completely clean it out and reorganize it. Major resistance. Major resistance. Now, what would be something else like that would be not so resistant would be like, I need to wash these dishes. That's manageable. That's more of a daily task. But to clean out of the closet, here's like a student example. Like I've got to study like this entire day. I've got to study. Just total resistance to the idea of spending hours and hours in a library studying. Versus, I'm going to read this one chapter or I'm going to review this one chapter. Again, much more doable. And then how about we use one that's the number one most common resolution that people make every year, something about their health. I need to lose 30 pounds. 30 pounds. Major resistance. But something like, I'll do 10 push-ups. Okay, that's probably doable. So that's kind of how this thing works. Small task, small emotional response. Hard task, bigger response. So you just have to know that going in. Like right now, even as I'm talking, your brain is like, oh, wait a minute, what's this guy saying? Hard stuff. And when I get into the stuff that I've chosen, at least initially, to start this year, it may not be, and maybe it won't be hard. Maybe you'll go, oh, it's no big deal. I could do that. Or maybe you'd be like, yeah, I wouldn't want to do that either, Rick. All right, so that's the first one. The second one is ego protection. So these two predictable ways. The first is emotional pushback. Second is ego protection. In other words, this is the story that you tell yourself, about who you are. And your brain is like, let's protect that story, okay? Like, this is who you are, and we don't want to mess with that. So this is sort of how it looks. Like if you say, if what you're if what your image of yourself is like, I'm smart, then you are going to avoid anything where you're clueless, where you don't know. And I'm going to give you a perfect example of that in a moment in one of my 5 hard things. Because that is my self-image, certainly. Yeah, I mean, I went to these big-time schools like Duke and Boston College, and I have 3 degrees, and I've written 9 books, and I'm a pretty smart guy, and most everybody relates to me in that way. They pay me money for my smarts, my wisdom. So you walk around in life like, I'm smart. And then you're going to have to do something where you're not smart, where you don't know anything or know very little. Hard thing to do. Let's use something like athleticism, okay? So you say, I'm just not athletic. That's your story about yourself. I'm not athletic. So then the idea of going to the gym or maybe joining some sort of group that does exercise or sports in some way, that's very hard. Your brain's like, don't do that. You're gonna make a fool of yourself. Again, you think you're smart, but then you're gonna end up looking foolish and clueless and stupid, like you don't know. You're not athletic, so don't go and do something that's gonna just show everybody how unathletic you are. And then again, all these messages, like you say, I'm not a morning person, and this idea of saying, hey, I'm gonna start getting up at 5 a.m. because all these successful people get up early, which is absolutely true. Any of you that listen to my podcast episodes I've done on success, I'll talk about that. So you'll be like, yeah, I'm a night person, not a morning person. So then you see there'd be resistance to eat, like, oh, I can't do that. Like, no way. Like the story I tell myself, not that kind of person. If you say, like, I'm not like a math person, that's not who I am. So then if that's how you think, then anything that's going to involve numbers, math, equations, calculations, I don't want anything to do with that. Like, that's hard, and your brain's saying, stay away. That's not what you're good at. Maybe in its sort of fullest expression, it would look like somebody who's like a perfectionist, and then they're just afraid to attempt anything new because it won't be perfect. So the resistance isn't even about the task as much as it is about protecting your ego, your self-image, your self-concept, like how you understand yourself. So if you just think about this, you see, you got emotional pushback and resistance, okay, like big emotions coming from doing this, major resistance, and then you've got this ego part of it and the self-concept part, like, So I'm just laying it out there for you, so I want to just tell you exactly the way it is. I'm not holding anything back. I'm not saying this is easy. That's why the word hard is in there, because it's not easy, it's hard. And here are a couple reasons just from, say, neuroscience, just your brain, as to why it is you will resist it from an emotional and from an ego standpoint. But here's the other side of it. Overcoming hard is empowering. Yes, it is enormously empowering when you do what you think you can't do. Becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable will serve you well. Accepting discomfort is an incredible preparation for dealing with tough stuff. And we all deal with tough stuff. Who knows what 2026 has in store? If you purposely, intentionally, proactively take on hard stuff and do hard things, imagine how much better you will be able to handle the tough, unforeseen situation, which may, I hope it doesn't, I pray that it doesn't, which may present itself in this new year. I can tell you that pushing yourself to do what you don't want to do or don't like to do is always better than running from it. You don't give up when it gets hard. And the only way that you develop that toughness to not give up when it gets hard is to purposely choose hard, not waiting till it gets hard, but making it hard. So then when it does get hard, you're ready for it. And when you do the hard stuff, then you receive the rewards that come from accomplishing hard stuff. And that's the fact of the matter is there are rewards. There are many, many, many rewards in a whole host of ways when you choose to do the hard stuff. And I'll show you that as I go through my list. Let me just say a couple of other things. One is, when I put this out there on social media, someone said, "Oh, so you're doing that book, Do Hard Things." I had no idea there was a book. So turns out there is a book, and I've ordered it. I haven't received it yet, so I haven't even begun to read it. So this is my Do Hard Things. I don't know what the author of that book says, but I'm sure it's good, and I look forward to reading what it's about. But this is my version of Do the Hard Things. So I picked 5 to start with in the new year. So here they are. First, a 3-day fast. Now, I've done much longer fast. Most of my fasts are at least a 7-day week fast, some 10, and I've done as many as 20. But I did this 3-day fast because I was doing it with a group of men that are in this coaching group that I lead. And so that's where the 3-day comes from. I ended up actually extending it a little longer than that. But just so we're clear, fasting means no food, just water. Any other definition you've ever heard of fasting, just please disregard it. There's only one definition of fasting: no food. Anything else is some other thing. It's not fasting. It's some other thing that involves not eating certain foods or doing, but fasting is no food, just water, period. Now, when I do fasting, it's for spiritual purposes. It's fasting and prayer. So every time I would be eating, I'll be praying. It's not just not eating food. Now, everybody have ever led through fasting, they all get so fascinated by the physical stuff. It drives me crazy because it's more the spiritual than the physical. But that's how people are, because their body starts changing and they go into ketosis. And if you get to 3 days and beyond, then autophagy kicks in as well. And, these are incredibly, incredibly, incredibly beneficial benefits that will come your way physically. But fasting has enormous spiritual benefits. First and foremost, it certainly has physical benefits as well. There's no doubt. In fact, I never knew any of this stuff about ketosis or autophagy until a couple of years ago. And I've been fasting for years, for decades. And so I didn't even realize that maybe one of the reasons I've never spent a night in the hospital and had such great health is because I've done all these fasts and I've gotten rid of all this bad mitochondria and all these precancerous cells have left my body, and my body's just cleaned itself out and repaired and done all these things because of fasting. And I didn't even know that was happening. That wasn't the reason I was doing it. But listen, if you think it's easy, and I wish I could just talk about this. I'm gonna be tough just to get this all in time today. It is hard to fast. And again, I bet you I've done 70, 75 fasts. So I don't know anyone that's done that many. I'm sure there are people out there, but most of the people who talk about it or write about it have not fasted as much as I have. And then they say things like, well, after the first day, it's not bad. And all these crazy things they say that are completely false. It is hard. It is always hard. It will always be hard. You will be hungry. You will get headaches. Some days will be easier than other days, yes, but this idea, I read someone's like, well, basically after 3 days, you're not hungry anymore. That is so false. That is absolutely false. I can remember being on a fast one time. I was on the 11th day. I was so hungry, I can't even tell you, starving hungry. So it's hard, but you'll have experience with God like you've never had if you'll fast and pray, like you've never had. And that's why it's all over the Bible. And you'll have fantastic physical benefits. All right, second one, 21 days, no sugar. I'm a healthy eater and I exercise, and I've never been out of shape or overweight my entire life. However, I do like the sweets. I try to limit them. I probably have a donut, maybe once a month or once every 2 months. And I like ice cream. I like cookies. My wife bakes all kinds of great things. So I try to stay away from them. But also my wife makes these incredible breakfast things that involve sugar. And the fact of the matter is, sugar is everywhere. It's like unbelievable. Like, as I've been doing this, it's like, I can't do that, can't do that, can't do that, can't do that. So it's hard. It's hard not to eat sugar. It's in so much of what we consume, added sugar, as they say. So it is difficult, and it's going to be a challenge to finish this 21 days with no sugar. And I was raised by a mother who served dessert at every dinner. Every dinner we had dessert. So it's tough, but it can be done. All right, the third one, and this is what I was referencing earlier, learning AI. Okay, I'm not big on technology. I've had a staff to handle the tech stuff my entire career. I've never messed with it. And frankly, as a writer, I find AI to be like really offensive. So I don't want anything to do with AI. But I've got to know more about it, and I've got to see where it can be a benefit for me. So even though I believe that I am a smart guy, I am not smart about AI, and I'm going to have to be dumb first in order to be smart later. So that's the way it works. That's the only way to do this, is to do the hard stuff and to get into stuff and new stuff. Just none of this is what I want to do. I do not want to do it. I do not want to invest my time in it. But I have passed on other technology things that I didn't want to do and sent them off to some other staff member. But this thing is something that I don't see any other way around it except for me to learn. So that is what I'm going to do. A 3-day fast, 21 days with no sugar, learn AI. All right, here's the fourth one, cold plunge. Man, sauna, I'm all for it. You heat it up, man. 180 degrees is nothing. I'll go higher. Cold weather, I'm from New England. Are you kidding me? It doesn't bother me at all. I'll go out and people be all bundled up. I'll barely zip up my jacket. But sitting in 50-degree water for 4 minutes, brutal. I've done it and I've hated it. Absolutely hated it. Every counting down the seconds. But I want to do it. There's supposed to be benefits. I'm not feeling them or seeing them. I told somebody that the other day. They're like, oh man, I love it. And this is what happens to me. And this, I said, none of that stuff happens to me. So I don't know. But I'm going to keep trying it for a while because I understand the benefits. I mean, I played, in football, we went into ice, but we basically just went into the waist and for inflammation and, that made sense to me. But this is all the way to the neck, the vagus nerve's got to get engaged, the longest nerve in your body and all that stuff. Woo. Okay. And the final one, organize my office. I'm looking at a pile right now, right in front of me as I'm recording this podcast. I look over here, I see some boxes that have my books in it. And, it's got to go. It's got to go. It's going to be tedious and time consuming, and I'm going to have to evaluate documents and decide whether to file them or throw them away. And if I file them, where do I file them? I mean, it is not something I want to do at all. But it needs to be done. For a clean, organized workspace, it needs to be done. So I am going to do it even though I don't want to. So that's my list. 3-day fast, 21 days no sugar, learn AI, do the cold plunge, organize my office. And my question to you is this: what hard things are you going to do in 2026? What's the hard thing you need to do, or things that maybe it's just one thing, it. You've been avoiding it. Do it. Do the hard thing. Overcome it. And reap the benefits of it and grow and develop in ways you never thought possible. Get past your resistance that is emotional and ego-oriented and just do it. And you are going to have yourself a great year. Have a good week.
You've been listening to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to you joining us for our next episode.